This is the Roger Orozco Show.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. The star, Ashton. Woo, not me, man. It's all you, buddy. Okay, guys, we decided to do a last-minute video. We just came out here. I just hooked it up, and we're gonna do it real quick. I didn't invite anybody. We're just gonna do it. School districts, a couple meetings in December, and there's no school Monday, so that's why I decided to do it last second. Okay, so one of the biggest deals that happened, Ashton, was a guy named Matt from School Services came to talk about money, the reserves, and with the numbers that he had on Selma. So one of the biggest things that comes out of this is that the district, he mentions the district is spending more than what's coming in. And that's a really, really big deal because our reserves have dropped. So from 21-22 at 18.62%, going through 22-23, and now the adopted budget from 23-24, the reserves are going from 18.62, they're going to go all the way down now to 6.56 on the adopted budget of this coming year, 23-24. Massive big deal. There's a board policy of 10%. They're at 6.56. What is this board going to do? I don't think they're going to do anything. But that number has to raise, and they have been giving away the farm. They gave away the farm with the union contract. They gave bonuses away after they told the people to tax themselves and Measure L. And I have to keep bringing that up because that is one of the worst things that's ever happened, in my opinion. Tax yourself, but then give out bonuses. Horrendous. So anyway, the reserves down to, from the adopted budget, it's going to be down to 6.56%. And like I said, that's a really big deal. So this is the meeting, Ashton. Oh, let me give you the phone, baby. Keep you a little bit busy. You're gonna get bored with Daddy talking. So this is the meeting where Mrs. Alanis starts talking about the money, and she asked Matt from School Services that if they would have went to fact finding, based on what he was saying, if they would have went to fact finding during the union contract negotiations, because you remember they gave away a ton of money. They moved the salary schedule, they gave raises, and then they gave bonuses. Oh, that's cute, boo. And, I mean, really hurting us in the future. And they were asked by some of us, the guys that we voted for, to go to fact finding, and they didn't do it. They didn't listen to the people, and so they didn't go to fact finding. So Mrs. Alanis brings up is if they would have went to fact finding during negotiations, they would have been in good shape. And what this gentleman says is it would have been a data point to support your position, which means yes to me. In my opinion, that means yes. And you guys wouldn't have had to give away all this money, but do not forget they have no backbone. Medina, Fedor, Sahota, Kessler have no backbone. As a matter of fact, Kessler asked a question at the end, how did the groups take the presentation? Because the presentation's telling you that it's going to get really tight and it's not going to be good, and it's probably going to kick the can down the road until this next school year is over. But it's not good, so she's worried. You can tell she's worried about the union groups because she knows you can't really give out too much money, and you shouldn't give out anything. As a matter of fact, when you move the salary schedule and you give 8%, then you give a bonus, you lie to the people because of Measure L. You shouldn't give them anything this year. But the union will decide, not the People's Board, the union, and it's because the People's Board gave all the power away. And they're weak. It's probably one of the weakest boards I've ever seen. And that's just the 4 board members, because there is an outside fighter, and that's Mrs. Alanis. So, with that being said, Mrs. Alanis did a great job once again, and the other 4 board members were proven that they did a horrific job with that union contract. Now, if you take from this meeting on December 13th, I believe it's a day before that, they had a reorganization. They had a regular board meeting. They had a reorganization of the board. What does that mean? Well, they picked themselves who's going to be board president, vice president, and the clerk. Out of the 5 board members, they decide themselves, Ash. So what they did, so you got to remember, Mrs. Alanis had been board president. She didn't support the union contract because she wanted more for her kids. When the grades, the state testing came out, she wanted people held accountable. Now, she was the only one. The other 4 during testing, when they were talking about state testing, sat there in silence, which is acceptance. No accountability. They gave away all this money, and some of them even said, well, maybe if we give out even more money, people will try harder. horrendous. These guys are horrendous. So she was a great board president, asked a lot of questions. Oh, she was the main driver for the Selma wrestling community, who came and asked. There was a board agenda item by Mr. Bejarano. The community rallied, and Mrs. Alanis was the only one that actually was pushing forward. I mean, some of the members, they all voted for it at the end, but to get it on the agenda for the people, it was Mrs. Alanis was the only one. As a matter of fact, the night that they fought and she was looking for help to make it an action item, some of the administration wasn't supportive of it, and you saw the board just sit in silence because they were afraid of the union. They were afraid of the administration, so they're not running our school district for the people. They're running it as an appeasement for the adults. So why that becomes a big deal is because you have the fighter for the kids, Mrs. Alanis, the only one right now fighting for the taxpayer, the adults, and the kids. You can hear the neighbor's dog barks a lot, and that's kind of down the road a little bit. But anyway, Mrs. Alanis now, they don't support her being the president. The only one asking for accountability, not supporting this horrific contract, and you see what happens now. There's a new majority. Mr. Sahota becomes board president, Mr. Fedor becomes vice president, and Mrs. Kessler becomes a clerk. So you see what's happened now is the one person that wants accountability and doesn't like what's going on with the money has now been pushed out as an outcast, sort of, in that environment. And now you see the three appeasers. And Mr. Medina, who sometimes swings with the other three, he wanted to be board president. So you kind of see where they're making it about themselves. They've even said stuff about, this is a great experience for me, for us, and it's not about you guys. It's about our kids, and they're not fighting for our kids. And Ashton, you're the reason why it should always be kids first, right? I mean, that's the only reason why we pay attention and follow it. But we got leadership that is horrendous. And I'll say it once again, Mr. Fedor, Mr. Medina, Mr. Sahota, Mrs. Kessler have tried to appease the adults and have not fought for our kids, and they don't even talk about our kids being put first. They used to say it until they got on the board. Now they don't say it anymore. So anyway, a little bit of what's happened. This was a quick video, and just to get more information, and those were from the meetings in December. Those were the biggest takeaways in my opinion. Thanks for watching the show. Please subscribe if you haven't, share the videos, man. This is information you're not going to see anywhere else unless you actually go to the meeting, which we know hardly anybody does. And this is coming from a parent's point of view that wants our kids put first. And we don't shame on the 4 board members that don't do that. All right, guys, thanks for watching the show. All right, Boo, say bye, Boo. Say bye. Ashton first all the time. All the kids first, right? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, cool.